level this out is because in doing so, you minimize the chances of bottoming out or topping out on these as you're adjusting them to level it out. So like you set up, lay out all your points from this spot. When you go to your next spot, just level those out again. Does not have to be perfect, just get it close. Reason why I set it up like this to where these two pegs in this bubble, which is right here, y'all go ahead and take a look at that.
Yep.
Right. Set that up to where these two pegs in that bubble are in an open space and squared up with your shoulders. Reason I say that is because when you do that and you get these pegs here and equally move your thumbs, both thumbs in or both thumbs out, that bubble is only going to move left and right.
Yeah.
On this one, only back and forth. Now, once you guys, a couple weeks or a month or so, do that and get comfortable with that, then you can, of course, spin one at a time or spin one quite a bit and one a little bit. The reason I don't teach that way right off the bat is because I've seen it 1,000 times over. A lot of new, inexperienced users, when they go to try moving one at a time or spin one quite a bit and barely tweak on the other, you can get that bubble moving diagonally. And a lot of times for new users, if that happens, it's hard to get it back on track to where it's moving like you want it to, you know what I'm saying? So, y'all check that out if you can. Both thumbs in is to the right, both thumbs out is to the left. You see what I'm saying? One way or the other. So, center it up one way, clockwise to send the bubble back, and that's good. Y'all check it out. Everybody agree? It's on the money?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so once you get to that part, you can turn it on. Now, you'll turn it on, your digital level is gonna open up. You have 4 digital levels. You have the 1 to 250 screen, which I just call it the 250 screen, the 100 screen, the 10 screen, and the 1 screen. After each one of them, it gets more sensitive and more sensitive. The 250, 100, and 10 screen are absolutely mandatory. Level those out, get it as perfect as you can. If you don't, again, you won't be able to ensure the accuracy of the points you're laying out. If you just tag this button right here, which is the power button, and wait, it'll automatically jump into that digital level. But if you want to shave some seconds off there, to get there a little quicker, you'll tap the power button, and then as soon as you see the Trimble logo on the screen, tap it again and hit the far right button. So we'll do that now. You want to come around this side, see if you can get the logo on your video? All right, so again, power button first. We'll tag that. I'm gonna just leave my hand over there. There's the Trimble logo, so I'm gonna tap it again and now hit the far right button. And like I said, it just gets into that digital level a little quicker.
So, but you tapped it and it made it go off? Or did
no,
you
I tapped it and it turned on. And as soon as I saw the Trimble logo, that's when you tag it again, far right, and it just a little quicker way to get into the digital level you see here.
Every other time, doesn't it shut that off over there?
No, to turn it off, you would have to hold it for about 2 or 3 seconds.
Oh, okay, all right. I was wondering about that. All right.
So I don't know if you can see it, but the 250 screen. So that's your first level, and that looks pretty good. So we're not going to have to mess with that. So we're going to hit the middle button to advance to the next screen. That one too looks pretty good. Don't have to move that one. Man, I got lucky. Y'all make sure y'all tell somebody about that one. All right, so hit it again one more time. Now we're at the 10 screen. So this one is ridiculously sensitive. And you guys will soon find out that on a windy day, it's gonna be so sensitive and frustrating and try to level that out. You might feel like booting it off the building. Don't do that though, because y'all gonna get in trouble. So what I recommend, do your best every time to get it as close as you can to perfect. But it's so sensitive though that if it's off a hair or what you feel is a hair off one way or another, call it good. So let's tighten that up a little bit. We see we need to come down. So I'm gonna spin this back dial counterclockwise. Now another thing to note, there's a slight delay from the time you move these pegs and see it move on there. So first couple times y'all do this, just move it really slow to get a feel for how sensitive it is. So I see that bubble needs to go to the right. So again, equally, both thumbs in or both thumbs out. We're gonna go both thumbs in to move that bubble to the right. See, I barely touched it, and that was a little too much. So both thumbs out. Let's good. Let's go counterclockwise on the back dial, bring it down a little bit. Both thumbs in for the bubble to go right. So let's say it's windy as hell today, and that's as good as we can get it. That's what I would consider off a hair. I'm gonna call that good. Of course, I'm gonna try to tighten it up, but like I said, if that's as good as you can get it due to the wind or weather in general, call that good.
Okay.
So now you can hit the exit, which is the far left button. If you were to hit that middle button, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. It'll take you to the one screen. That one is so sensitive. You could stand here and just talk loud, and that sucker is gonna be bouncing all around. So if you accidentally press that middle button and you get to the one screen, just tag that far left one, it'll close it out. Then you'll get a countdown from 0 to 10. When it gets to 0, you'll see waiting for connection on the screen. When you see that, you're ready to make the connection between the tablet and the robot. So I'm gonna go. Oh, it's already open. So we'll open that up. Here's our job. So our robot's set up and good to go. So the first thing we need to do is connect it. So we'll go to device. Now, we got to set this up. This is going to be on your robot screen. Once you set this, it's never going to change. So from here on out, you'll just go to device and connect, and it'll be good to go. The chances of you having to change the channel network ID are extremely rare, and that is because, as you see here, the channel, you got 30 to choose from. Network ID, you have 255 to choose from. So the chances of another Trimble robot being on your same stuff,
255 times 30.
yeah. All right, so we are on 6 and network ID 17. Oh, cool, y'all already got that. So we're gonna hit connect. Another thing, this antenna, I would recommend leaving it down, mainly because it doesn't work any better or worse if it's up or down, and when it's down, it's just out of the way. It minimizes the chance of it getting broke or bent up. Yeah. All right, so this is the screen that you'll see by default every time as soon as it gets connected. This right here, siding and trunnion, absolutely the most important thing to look at and note before you do anything else. What is siding and trunnion? So, siding and trunnion, if you think about it like this, is the two planes of movement you're changing when you're leveling out these screws. Another way you could think about it or maybe understand it would be when you're leveling out these screws, you're changing the angle of how this is sitting on the base of this tripod. Angles are measured in degrees, minutes, and seconds. That's what you see here. Ideal numbers you're looking for is 30 and 30, or less, of course. Positive or negative does not matter. That right there is almost perfect. A perfectly leveled instrument would be 0 and 0.
Okay, that goes back
all
to
across the board.
horizontal and vertical.
Correct, yes sir. Now, like I said, 30 and 30 or less is ideal. If one of these gets, now, this is something I check a couple times throughout the day. If I see guys working around my robot, you know what I'm saying, or just general traffic, I'll check it. Now, if you were to get out of that and go somewhere else or whatever, if you wanted to get back to that to check it, just go back to device and settings, and there you go. If your siding and or trunnion gets to 40 or 50 seconds, if I'm not laying out anything critical like sleeves or something, if I'm just tagging hangers, I'm okay with 40 or 50 seconds. That's kind of pushing the limits, but it's all right. If your siding or trunnion gets to a minute or 60 seconds or greater out, you do not have to, but I would highly recommend, and what I personally do is if it gets higher, a minute or 60 seconds or greater on either one, I'm gonna come back to the robot, kill it, turn it back on, run through my digital level, tighten that up, and reshoot my control points, just to make damn sure that I can ensure the accuracy of what I'm putting down on the ground.
Right.
And the main reason for that is because when you get to 60 seconds or greater out of level, you could start incorporating error into your points. If you do, the farther you get away from your robot,
of course,
it's going to be a growing error. Now, my reasoning behind that, if one is 60 seconds out or greater, how much error could you incorporate into your points? I don't know. And that uncertainty is my main reason for just redoing everything real quick. So we're good there. So now we need to drop those settings down because we're about to shoot our control point. So it doesn't matter which one you do first as long as you change both of them. So I tend to do this one first. We're gonna go to more, jobs, and settings. Now everything here is in that quick startup, guys. So we'll check that out again after we give this a run through and it'll make a little more sense to you. So more jobs and settings, well, we're already there. For control points, we're gonna change our distance units to a 16th. Your distance units is kind of like your digital tape measure. So I got two different explanations and two different understandings for changing that and what it does. I've got an explanation for changing it and what it does for your control points, and then an explanation and understanding for changing it when you're shooting your, we'll say your layout points. So for control points, the reason why you drop it to a 16th, think about it this way. Knowing we have to be as precise as possible. That's the most precise shit we're gonna be doing all day, or on a daily basis. If you were to stretch a tape measure out of that scope to each one of those points, control points, we want to see those 16th marks on our tape measure, because if you got 16ths on your tape measure, it's probably because you're doing more precision work, right? Mm-hmm. After we shoot control points, we're going to come back in here and jump that up to a quarter. So the explanation for changing it for your layout points is, if we were to stretch this out to all of our hanger points, we no longer need to see those 16th marks because we're not being that precise. Another thing, for your layout points, when you change that to a quarter, and you click on a point, it tells you where to go. Let's say 10 foot, 5 inches to the robot, 4 foot right. When you start walking to that, your dimensions are gonna change in 1/4 inch increments. Mm-hmm. So we're good there. Now we're gonna go to measure and settings. Again, this horizontal setting right here, or excuse me, horizontal tolerance setting, that has influence over that tolerance field we talked about a few times already. So we want that to be as tiny as we can get it. So we're gonna go to a 16th. We're gonna always ignore the vertical tolerance. Come here to this button, and we're going to high precision. Again, just to remind you guys, you wanna set it to high precision for your control points, because when you hit that shoot button, it'll take multiple shots over a 5-second period, giving you the best average. So we're good here. Now we're ready to do our setup. So we're gonna go to device, and setup. Now from this screen is where you'll pick your control points and then individually shoot them and then go from there. So after you do that, you would hit measure and layout to hit your layout points. Now let's just say first couple weeks or so y'all forget that, or maybe your buddy's talking to you and you're distracted and you forget, and let's say you just get all excited or whatnot, go to measure and layout first. It'll let you know that your setup has not been completed. So when you tap this button here, setup, it'll take you to the device setup screen. So there's no wrong way to get going. You can't accidentally miss a step. So we kind of foolproofed it for you. Cool. So now the blue one, you can always close that. That's just saying select your points that you want to use. Use last instrument setup location. We don't want to do that because we're starting fresh with a brand new setup. So we're going to click no there. So at this point, we're gonna select our point, go get on it, bubble up, take a shot, and then run through all three. So let's do that. All right. Here, let's try. I want to talk about a couple more settings first. That way it'll make a little more sense. So these 3 hexagon shaped buttons. Any hexagon shaped button is going to be Prism related. So this first one here, if you were to just tap it, that toggles back and forth between laser mode and Prism mode. So we'll do some laser stuff tomorrow or later today, but in Prism mode, when that is spinning, that tells you that your robot is not locked onto your Prism. This middle one is your Prism settings. We'll go there in just a minute. And this question mark right here, that's your search button. So if you, as you guys can see, that's not locked on us. So whenever we open up this joystick here, we're about to drive it to us. So when you're using your joystick to drive it to you, you want to get the center of that scope, this piece right here, You want to center it up with your chest or about shoulder width. Whatever you feel like is close to your shoulder or chest area. And the reason why you want to do that, reason why you want to do that is because when you hit this question mark, the search button, that robot's only going to pan in a 15-degree window vertically and horizontally. Now, of course, when you're a long ways away, that 15-degree window feels like it's a lot bigger, you know, but let's do that real quick. Now, every now and then you might get lucky, and when you're driving it to you, it might lock on without you having hit the search button, but, oh, wrong way. All right, so I think that's close. So I'm gonna hit the search button here. And as you see, it's searching for our target now. Oh, you know what? Let's back up a step or two. Let's go to Prism Settings first. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so before we search, we're gonna go to our Prism Settings and check everything out. All right, so as you guys can see, our target, that don't match up with what we have. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn that on 1. That way it's on and ready. So we're about to change the target type. Once we do so, you'll never have to change that unless you were to start using a different prism. So right here at target type, we're gonna click that. The prism you guys have is the MT1000. Looks a lot more right. So, rod height. If you're not doing elevation related work, that don't matter if it's 0, 60, or 6,000. So keep that in mind. Your prism mode. If you click that menu or that button, you have active and passive. Active is on, passive is off. Couple examples on when and why you might want to change that. Let's say you're working a hard 12-hour day. Prism battery dies around the 10-hour mark. Don't have another battery, don't have time to go charge it. It would be wise of you to tell the software that it's off and put it in passive mode. Now, if your prism battery dies and your software thinks it's on and in active mode, you can still work. It'll lock on, you'll shoot, or it'll shoot it, it'll follow you, but it will drastically struggle to do all of that. And the reason is, if it's dead here, but the robot thinks it's on, the robot's going to be looking for that signal from the radio that's no longer there due to the loss of power. Same on the flip side. If this is on and your software thinks it's off, again, you can still work, do all that good stuff, but it will drastically struggle. Same thing just on the reverse side. If it's dead, if it's on here, but the software thinks it's off, the prism's going to be emitting that radio signal, but your robot's not going to be looking for it. So keep that in mind. So we're going to go to active. The RMTID, that's your channel on the prism. So that is the radio, or the RMTID is matches up with that, and that is what communicates with the robot. So like I said, generally speaking, I always run it on channel 1. If there's another Trimble robot in my area, I'll just make sure we're not on the same channels. If he's on channel 1 and don't want to change, then I can just go here, select any of those others, and then change it up here. And then we would be good.
Oh, I see. Indicator.
All right, so now we can close that. Again, just turn the light off. So now we're gonna open up our joystick. That looks close enough, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit the search button there. Let it start searching. It's pretty wild, huh? All right, so let me check something real quick. All right, so now it's supposed to talk to you. It did not. I'm not sure why. We'll mess with that later, but how do you know if it's locked onto you or not? If you guys look now,
It's not moving.
that's not spinning anymore, and your search button's gone. So when that's not spinning and there's no search button, you know you're locked on.
Good.
Another quick little side note about your prism here. This green light, you probably can't see it lit up. That's a power indicator. So if you ever see that flashing, that tells you that your prism battery is getting low. Just like the robot battery though, I work that sucker till it dies, and then I'll worry about changing it. So now we're ready to shoot our points. So our first one is right here. So that's gonna be CP1. And we know that's been selected because if you look closely, it's got a blue circle around it. So now we just got to get on there, bubble up, and take our shot. Now, it seems like the default thing in everybody's brain when they first get going with this is to do this right here. And you guys will see that's pretty damn difficult. So to avoid stabbing the dirt or stabbing the ground, what I'd recommend is grab it by the bipod handles right here and push it up against your foot a little bit and use your heel as a pivot point. You got a little more control over it. So we're good there. I'm gonna drop those down. Now I'm gonna level up the bubble here.
Loose.
All right, that looks good. Now, a little trick that I like to use to help me get that done quick. Whenever I set that sucker up, and my bubble's way off in left field or right field or whatnot, these buttons right here, you push those down and that's what will allow it to move here. But I'll hold them down, you know what I'm saying, get it close, and then whenever I get the bubble close, then I'll do this right here. You know what I'm saying? I feel like tapping it real quick will let you move it a little more controlled like. So we're good, I'm bubbled up, point selected. The star button here, or the OK button, see it, star button in the very top corner, or the OK button. Both work for a shoe button. Does not matter which one you shoot, or which one you use. Oh, didn't get it. All right, so now it's shooting, and you will know that the shot has been taken when your point circle turns solid blue. Oh, solid blue. So now, damn, I minimized it. All right. So another good habit to get into would be select your point, or excuse me, select your next point before you go there. So the one up there is CP2, so we're gonna select that. Now, real quick, while y'all are shooting your control points or in that process, if you ever have any confusion, did I select that next point? Did I shoot that point but had this one selected? Any kind of confusion like that, you're best off hitting this clear all button. Tap that, clear all points and measurements, hit yes, and then just start over. That way you don't get your points mixed up. So we're gonna say no. So now I'm gonna go over there and take my shot. All right, point selected, I'm bubbled up, robot's still locked on, taking my shot.
Okay.
Awesome, I'm glad that happened. Let's come over here in the shade so y'all can see this a little easier. So if you remember this morning, we talked about this a little bit. Unable to calculate station location. Although it's not that easy to see with this one, we can easily tell though that that's less than 45 because we know it's not a big obtuse angle. So that's because it's less than 45 degrees. So if you're just shooting 2 control points and get that pop up, that's your red flag to move your robot around to get a better looking triangle. But another reason why it's so much easier to shoot more than 2, if you know you have another one to shoot, that don't matter. Go ahead and select your next point, which is CP3. Come on, fat fingers. All right, there we go. And then just close that out, because like I said, we have another one to shoot, so that makes no difference to us. So let's go tag that last one and see what we get. This is eyeball center, huh?
Yep.
Good enough for the girls I go with. All right, bubbled up, point selected. We're gonna take our shot. Cool, let's go back in the shade real quick so y'all can see this a little better, and we'll talk about what we got on the screen here. All right, so our overall setup error was a quarter. Pretty damn good for not having shit to hold square, man. All right, so let's say you shoot 3 points and your error is more than what you want to accept. So generally speaking, for inside of the building type work, I'm not going to accept anything over a 1/4 inch. Of course, anything better than that is good. Again, a perfect setup would be instrument position within 0. Now for dirt work and rough staking, man, I'll accept a 1/2 inch or 3/8, something like that all day long. But again, that's why I know your installation, just to know how much play you got with your points. But let's say shoot 3, I'm gonna make some up. Let's say it's 1/2 inch. We're doing laying out sleeves a day. Obviously way outside of what we need to accept. So what's cool about shooting more than 2, you see that include point button? That's a neat feature, because when you shoot more than 2, you can try to exclude one of those by unchecking that to see if excluding one of those points will tighten up your setup and give you a better setup. So what I always say, you shoot more than 2, if that's more than what you want, do the process of elimination. So I usually just start at one end and work my way around. So let's try that one just for the hell of it. See if we can get better than a 1/4. We'll uncheck that to exclude it. That's not gonna work, so let's include that with, excuse me.
Yeah.
Let's try that one.
That one should do it, I think.
Got a little worse, so we damn sure need that one.
No kidding. Wow.
And I know this
I
one
was
ain't
thinking
gonna
about
work.
that angle.
Okay, so we're good. We're just gonna have to stick with a 1/4, but you get the idea in the process. Now, if you shot 4 or 5, let's say, hang on, let me back up a step. We shot 3, let's say it's a 1/2 inch. Can't accept that. We're laying out some critical stuff today. Before I would move my robot around or do something like that, I'm gonna go and shoot a 4th one, or probably just go ahead and shoot a 4th and a 5th one. Because when you do that, let's say you got 5 points up here that you shot for your setup. If you have 4 or 5, you can also try eliminating 2. You know what I'm saying? If you try eliminating 1, none of that works, then try a combination of 2 points here and there to see if that'll tighten up your setup.
So how would you, if you wanted to add another point, what would you do? Just measure off of
You just
these
select
2 and go out.
Let's see.
and
Let's
put
say.
one out
Let's
there?
say we had 21 laid out.
Mm-hmm.
I would just select it and go shoot that.
But you have to. Oh, I see what you're saying.
You gotta lay out the control points.
You got to lay it out though.
Yeah, you'd have to have it laid out first. But
Okay.
so we're good with all that. So we're gonna hit set. So as you can see now, our robot knows where it's at in our job. Another cool thing, once your instrument knows where it's at in the world, you, being the prism pole, are going to be represented by an orange crosshair. So if you look, follow me, you see how it's moving? So that's another way to get your bearings and figure out where the hell you're at, because that's always going to be there.
Yeah, good point.
So,
But you got to find those dots.
yeah, and like I said, a combination between seeing your grid on there and having that, it's real easy to keep your bearings about yourself as you're traveling throughout the job site. So now our control points are good. We're going to hit, we got to jump our settings up now to hit our layout point. So more, jobs, and settings. Again, that digital tape measure. Oh, forgot to change that. That don't matter for what we're doing, but, oh, well, we'll leave that at 1/4. That's my fault. So now we're going to go to measure and settings. Now we want that tolerance field a little bigger, so we're going to jump that up to a 1/4. And now there's a lot of companies that rather have it at an 1/8, but again, that's always different company to company. So that'll be up to you guys to figure out what y'all want to roll with. And now we're going to go to fast precision. So at this point, we're ready to hit measure and layout. All right, so before we get going, I want to cover a couple more things. As you guys already saw, the joystick, so when you're in your layout screen after you've shot your control points, if you tag that side low arrow, your zipper, that middle button is your joystick. So if you were to walk past, I don't know, 4 or 5 columns, or maybe a group of guys walks in front of you and you lose that signal, of course you can use your slider bars, left and right, up and down, to drive it to you. Or you can use the panoramic feature. So that's a really awesome feature. How it works, when you tap that button, your robot will spin 360 degrees, taking a 360 degree panoramic picture, and that is used for a search feature. So let's go back over here a little bit. We're gonna get in the shade for a little bit, that way we can see the screen. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that started, and then I'll finish talking shop about it while it's taking the picture. Now, You do not have to shoot your control points first. I was just ahead of myself a little bit. I would recommend to take your picture before you shoot your control points. Reason is, it takes about 4 minutes or so, 4 or 5 minutes to take that picture. That way, while it's taking the picture, you can gather up all your supplies, you know, your pens, paint, markers, whatever it is you're gonna use. So let's get that going.
What is a picture necessary for?
About to show you. Okay, you see it's taken. So how this works, let's say we take the picture, and let's use that example again. We walk past 4 or 5 columns. We're right here, the robot's looking off in left field or something. So what we can do is we can open up that picture, and wherever you're located, how you use the picture, you look past the robot and see what's directly behind it. So if I'm locked on right here, that metal light pole by the gutter over there would be what's directly behind the robot. So I would find that light pole on my picture, scroll, and then I touch it, and no matter where the robot is looking, the robot will automatically spin 180 degrees from where you touched on the picture, and then automatically go into that search mode and lock onto you. So in my opinion, the panoramic mode is the quickest way to go about getting it locked back onto you when you lose that signal or that connection. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Behind that, and then touch that on the picture. All right, so there's the jet ski. So I think that's about it. Now watch. You see it spun 180 degrees from where I touched on the picture, and now it's searching for the target.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It's almost creepy.
And it's locked
Yeah.
on now.
Oh, I got
Done
you.
deal.
Yeah.
So pretty damn slick.
Yeah.
And that's strange. It's not talking to us. I got the volume up.
Yeah, I heard it say earlier that it lost the target and then it found it again.
Okay.
But I don't know why it's not saying found target located.
All right, so we're good. So at this point, we're ready to click on a point and lay it out. So
Is there like a mute button that might be pushed or something?
I just checked that. It's on.
Oh, okay.
Now, let me go back here. All right, so when you click on a point, as you see I did here,
Yep.
if that point is farther than 3 feet away from your location, your dimensions will pop up here telling you where you need to go
Oh, cool.
to get to that point. Now, when you're walking to that point, when you get within 3 feet of it, your bullseye screen will automatically pop up.
Huh.
Now, me personally, I don't like to drive from that screen right there. So what I like to do, even if I click on a point that's farther than 3 feet away, I just tag that and I'll drive from my bullseye screen 100% of the time. I think it's a little quicker and easier too. So let's do that. Now, whenever you click on a point, if you have to move X amount of feet, there, like at this point, we got to go almost 7 foot that way and a foot and some change to the right. There'd be no need for me to bubble up right now, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
And then
of
check
course
that.
not.
So just walk to where you think it is. So 6 foot.
Okay.
Damn, that was pretty good. Got within a couple inches. So, whenever I'm walking to that point and I get within about 6 to 8 inches or so, that's when I will bubble up,
yeah, there you go.
check it, move. Bubble up, check it, move until I'm right on the money. So, I'm bubbled up. So now I got true dimensions there to walk to. So, when you get close within, we'll say 3 or 4 inches or so, one of those subconscious habits I see most new users accidentally trying to fall into, when they get here, they're so locked on and zoned out on their screen, they try to use that bullseye and that little hockey puck deal underneath it to do all of their moving. And I swear it seems like when you're locked in and zoned out on that, trying to make your movements, it's like you're doubling and tripling the move down there at the bottom. So what I would suggest trying to get in the habit of right off the bat, and if you can, it's gonna just make you faster, quicker. Whenever you got a few inches to move, find that spot on the ground
Move
and then
to
move to it. Yeah,
good,
so
good thought.
2 1/4, 3 1/4. So now I'm gonna bubble up 3/4 1/4.
That's a pretty good idea.
1/4 1/4. So when you get close like that, you can also
Just kind of nudge
just
it.
nudge it with your boot.
Stake point.
All right, it's green. So this is
Good.
another thing that kind of throws some new users off. They'll see it green, but they see the quarter there, 1/4 1/4. Essentially, if you ever see it green and it's 1/4 1/4, maybe 1/4 one way, that's just telling you you're right on the edge of that tolerance field. But if it's green, essentially you're good. Shoot it. That's
because
just telling
set
you
it at 1/4.
correct. You're just on the inside of that tolerance field.
Yeah.
Now it's possible a lot of times, and this also I've seen confuse a lot of new users. It'll be gray, and it'll say 0 1/4. That if it's not green and you see 1/4 one way or another, that tells you again you're on the edge, but closer to the outside of the edge of being
okay.
out of
So you
tolerance.
just move it just a hair and it'll turn green, I guess.
Yeah. So it's, like I
Squeeze
said,
at it.
as long as it's green,
Good.
shoot it.
Observation stored.
Now
That's when
check
it
that
should
out.
go on the ground there like that.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about when we
Yeah.
were going over that acceptable working radius slide. Point beyond furthest control point used in instrument setup. So that's the software, remember, saying, hey, check yourself. What was your initial error? How far past that point are you? If you verify all that's good, man, that don't matter. We're gonna close that out. Now, depending on how those CAD guys describe all of your points and stuff, all of the information you need would be right there in that green pop-up window. Know how many control points you have, you know what I'm saying, and then subtract that from the main number. Because of course you're not going to be staking out all your control points like your layout points.
Well, if it's gray and the guy marks it anyway and then goes on to the next point,
it will not show here. You have to
okay,
shoot
so
it
in
and
other
store
words,
it.
it'll be like you shot them all wrong. You only got one right all day long. If a guy shot a bunch of, or
Yeah,
says
like if he
shot a
just
bunch
got
of
on
points.
top of it and it's
Yeah.
green and then just marked it,
Yeah.
nobody will know he shot it unless he's like, hey, this is what I laid out.
Gotcha.
So, which of course I wouldn't recommend
Good, you're
doing
going
that.
to drill the new hangers in.
Yeah. All right, so we can go back to measure and layout. And, well, you know what? Y'all have seen it, so
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and go to more and exit. And I'm going to break that down. Now, who wants to give it a shot first?
I'll try it.
All
I
right.
need some help. But...
Yeah, I'll walk you through it, man.
No, he just leaves and goes, all right, you got this. He just leaves.
All right, there's your training, boys.
Next flight.
So it'll move if you just break one.
Yeah, go ahead, try it. Put your boot on there and raise it up. Now, since you're, yeah, go down a little lower since everybody here's a little shorter than you. Yeah, that'll be good. So go ahead and lock that down. So now you know when you drop these down, they're all going to be even. You know what I'm saying? Making it a little easier on you when you go to spread that sucker out. Right there. There you go. So now, grab two of them like that. Nope. Grab those two. There you go. Now, stab that one down in front of you and bring two back. Nope. Here, check it out one more time. So when you got like this, grab two of them. Here, I'll stand like this. Stab one down and bring two back. There you go.
All the way up.
No, just so you want average span. You want about 3 to 4 foot in between those spikes, and of course you want that as level as you can get it. Thank you, sir.
Where's the strap for the middle?
It's right there.
It's all there.
So yeah, there's
Well,
no
it
need
probably
to
has
edge that, but
mounted.
I'll come out a little further.
It'll be mounted on there
So
so
like
it
yeah,
doesn't
4
get
feet's a
all
little better.
laying
Of course,
around
if
and
you're ever
shit,
in a
you know?
situation where
Looks
you
like
feel
a
like you need this higher,
clip in the middle
the
there.
higher this is, the wider your
Yeah.
spikes will be.
Just
So
for that.
you're ready to put your robot head up there. Another thing, I forgot to mention that. After you kind of eyeball level, you just want to make sure your legs are squared up. So, let me bring it over here so you can see it.
Oh, thank you.
See how that's a little cockeyed? I'd call that unacceptable.
Tyler decided to put on the back
Once
of
you
the
eyeball
elbow
level,
for putting the
just
vein
take
rail
a
on,
couple
even though I
steps around
specifically. Well, doesn't matter.
to make sure it's as even as you can get it. And like I said, at this point, it doesn't have to be perfect. So that looks good. Go
Ricky
ahead
to the rescue.
and put that up there. Now, when you thread that on there, these two pegs with the bubble need to be squared up to where you're at.
I think you gotta hold the top though the whole time.
Don't have to, but it's a great idea.
I think it's a. I think it's a.
That's a rule.
It's a. I
Necessity,
think it's a
yeah.
company
I
rule.
think it's a law, actually.
A company
Yeah.
law.
Check it out.
I'll prosecute the shit out your ass.
You know what would
Yeah,
happen?
go ahead and see
I know what would happen. Earthquake, whatever, or some clown threw
The
something
second
down.
one will be that.
Somebody will think it's going. They'll go to reach for it and said, push it faster towards the ground.
Some asshole electrician. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would be.
Yeah. So, okay, man.
All right, so
Get that wallet out.
What's your name,
both
bud?
thumbs in, both thumbs
Give me an
out.
extra long
That's gonna
check.
get you fixed up this way. So get it good that way, and then you can spin this back dial and bring it back in.
Southwest. They want to do a big expansion. They want to put another
So you're bringing
expand
that
Terminal
back
A
in, you want to bring that back in down
at
a
the
little bit.
BWI. Yeah.
Be nice to get that.
16 million or whatever.
Both thumbs
I mean, when you
out,
think
send
about
to
it.
the left.
United. Is
There
it
you
United?
go.
No.
Anything but America.
American, whatever. Has like Charlotte. They got like 6 concourses at Charlotte. It's crazy. It was USA or whatever. I think American bought it. I'm not sure how that worked.
Damn near
I
perfect.
lost my luggage
So,
twice.
press the power button. Like I said, I would just leave your hand over there. And then as soon as you see the Trimble logo, tap it again and hit the far right button. And then wait a second, then that digital level will pop up. Alright, so that looks good. Middle button to advance to the next screen. So counterclockwise on that back dial will bring that down.
This has got some.
Yeah,
That's
both
from
thumbs
delivering
out.
stuff this
We're
morning.
moving to the left a little
Who
bit.
was that?
Mike?
Oh, I thought maybe that was
Justin.
Volker.
That's where Mike careens into the
Looks good.
robotic
Then we're
too.
gonna go to
Good.
the next screen, which is the last and final one. Damn, you've done this once or twice before. Alright, so that
think,
looks
wouldn't
good.
you?
Now hit the far left button to exit. So that's where you get your countdown. When it gets to 0, you'll see wait
Woo.
for connection, and that's when you're ready to make the connection between the two.
Alright. Oh, yeah, waiting for connection.
Alright, so we're ready to go over there. So go ahead and double tap on the Trimble icon at the top left.
This one? Yeah. One second.
All right, so now we're ready to get it connected. So that's going to be under device. And connect.
6 and 7.
Now, while that's connecting, now that y'all have seen it done once, scan through that quick startup guide and tell me what you think about that. Now, if you'd like me to change that or add anything or take something away, let me know. But like I said, I did my best to break it down as best I could. Horizontal tolerance, again, that's our tolerance field, so drop that to a 16th, and then click that button on the right.
This one.
Nope.
Right.
There you go. And go to high precision. So we're good with all that. Now we're ready to do our setup, so that's going to be under device and setup.
I guess we got to take a plastic piece off of there at some point.
Hmm?
There's a plastic piece there at the top.
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
that's the screen protector.
Yeah, so you can
Is
close
it?
both of those.
So it's got bubbles, and I was thinking maybe in the sun it would like bake itself onto the glass.
It's
I mean, I
okay.
don't know.
All right, so now you're ready to select your points. So CP1, if you want to shoot that one first, that's the one down there. So you know it's been selected because that blue circle. Now you can go get on top of that point and bubble up.